What I want to do with this video is to first explain why I support and agree with most of what Glenn Beck's, most of his political views, and secondly, explain why his political views cannot ultimately be defended by his religious views. To begin with, Glenn Beck is one of the only voices in the media who's continually exposing the fact that our government is destroying this country from within, and that it's not just the Obama administration, but nearly every administration for the last century. But yes, the problems have been exacerbated and are now completely out of control because of the socialist, Marxist, statist policies of the Obama administration. As the Democrats and Republicans keep playing musical chairs with the Senate, Congress, and the presidency, the United States keeps slipping deeper and deeper into debt. The deficit for 2009 alone was almost $1.5 trillion. The entire government was run with that type of money just a few short years ago. And not only that, but Americans pay more just in interest on that debt than they used to pay to run the entire government just a few short years ago. Americans should be outraged. But are enough of them? No. And why not? Because they never hear about it, because the only place it's regularly covered in the media is on Glenn Beck's show. Just imagine if you ran your family the way the United States government runs this country. The Republicrats have turned us and our children into lifelong beasts of burden for special interest groups, and Americans just keep voting them into office. I can't believe it. Don't you people care? Every man, woman, and child is indebted to our ever-expanding, gluttonous government leviathan for roughly $45,000 each, and that's $122,000 per taxpayer. Roughly 15% of every dollar we pay in taxes now goes to pay just the interest on that debt. That's hundreds of billions of dollars wasted every single year. And the debt grows by over $1.5 billion every single day. What in the hell is wrong with you people? There comes a time in the life of a republic or a democracy when the working people have to ask themselves, is the government helping the working man, or is my government hurting the working man? Are the policies of my government supporting freedom, personal responsibility, and the values that make life worth living? Or are the policies of my government destroying freedom, personal responsibility, and the values that make life worth living? How long do you think a society can last when its government rewards the bad and punishes the good? How long do you think a society can last when its government rewards irresponsibility and punishes responsibility? How long do you think a society can last when its basic moral premise favors parasites over producers? Every year that goes by, because of our government policies, more and more people are getting some type of government check and living off the back of the producers. There are over 300 million people living in the United States. Less than 140 million of those people are in the workforce. Roughly 21 million of those people work for the government. Roughly 40 million people are on Social Security. Roughly 35 million are on some type of welfare. Every year that goes by, the population of enablers and parasites goes up, while the population of workers and producers goes down. What percentage of parasites can a civilization support before it collapses from its own debt weight? How long can a society last before its hardworking, productive citizens say, the hell with it? Your government's not only ruining your children's future, but your children's children's future as well. You really need to wake up to the fact that the Republicrats are the problem. Who else is continually focusing on these facts besides Glenn Beck? We need to get back to the values, virtues, principles, and the paradigms that made America the most prosperous nation in human history. Things such as freedom, liberty, justice, personal responsibility, self-reliance, equality under the law, unalienable individual rights, limited government, and laissez-faire capitalism, to name just a few. We need to get back to our former moral principle of self-reliance. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, but teach him how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime, and get away from the immoral 20th and 21st century entitlement program principle of give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, but teach him how to steal the fish of others through the voting process, and you feed him for a lifetime. The most fundamental of all political choices is expressed in two, and only two, basic premises. The premise of the Founding Fathers that every citizen has the unalienable right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, or in essence, freedom, or the Marxist premise, from each according to his ability, to each according to his need, or in essence, you are to be forced by the government to be your brother's keeper. Those are the only two choices. A government must be based on one premise or the other. A government must uphold one premise or the other, period. I challenge anyone to name another premise. It cannot be done. I support Glenn Beck because he's the only person in the major media who keeps driving this point home. However, Glenn Beck's problem, like the problem of all religious thinkers, is that he has nothing to base unalienable individual rights on. You cannot just say, like the Founding Fathers did, that mankind was endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, because it cannot even be proven a Creator exists. And if it cannot be proven a Creator exists, how can it be proven that he, she, it, or them endowed anyone with any rights? Simple. It can't. This is why it was such a huge mistake for the Founding Fathers to base the rights of American citizens on the fantasy of a cosmic puppet master of the universe. This is also why the Founding Fathers failed in creating a longer legacy of freedom and unalienable individual rights. You cannot just say a creator gave mankind unalienable rights because it's so obvious he didn't. If God endowed human beings with unalienable rights, why don't human beings possess them? After all, what does unalienable mean? It means something that cannot be taken away, right? If God endowed human beings with unalienable rights, no federal government, no state government, no local government, or no other individual human being could possibly take them away. So obviously, because federal governments, state governments, local governments, and individual human beings violate the so-called unalienable rights of other human beings all the time, they are in fact extremely alienable. That's why the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. I wish they were unalienable, but it's blatantly self-evident that they're not. And that's why they must always be protected and fought for. Another fact that proves this point is that only after the Founding Fathers explicitly declared the existence of unalienable rights were they ever recognized and respected. If God endowed human beings with unalienable rights, why were they only recognized a little over 200 years ago? And why only in America? And why didn't Indians have them? Why didn't blacks have them? Why didn't women have them? Why didn't the Chinese have them? Why didn't Muslims have them, etc.? Did God only endow 5% of the world's population with rights? The entire premise is ridiculous on its face. The Founding Fathers based unalienable rights on the concept of God because, number one, they didn't know any better, and number two, they had nothing else to base them on. They were extremely knowledgeable men for their times, but they were also extremely ignorant men for our times. Just like we're extremely ignorant compared to what will be known to future generations. As widely read as they were, they knew nothing about archaeology, anthropology, biology, evolution, genealogy, geology, paleontology, and a multitude of other modern sciences. They didn't even know about dinosaurs. They simply based unalienable rights on what they believed, not on what they knew. So, if rights didn't come from God, where did they come from? Simple. The human being's ability to reason. In other words, human beings possess rights because they possess the ability to identify them using reason. They possess rights because of the abilities of the human mind. And this is also why rights were only recognized after the period known as the Enlightenment. Human beings were enlightened by the power of reason. Rights come from the ability of human beings to reason, period. Unalienable rights came into existence because mankind, after thousands of years, finally realized that in order to have a truly moral society, human beings must be free to choose their own destiny and free to act upon their choices, as long as they are not violating the equal rights of others to do the same. It took thousands of years to figure it out, but it was finally figured out using the reasoning human mind. And this is easily proven by simply asking a couple of questions. Would rights exist on Earth if human beings did not exist on Earth? Of course not. And why not? Because because over time, the reasoning human mind created the concept of rights. Take the human mind out of the equation, and rights on earth no longer exist. Period. Human beings have rights because the human mind first identified the need for them and then defended the need for them using reason. And this would also be true of any other species as well. If any other species on Earth, or any other planet for that matter, developed to the extent that they were able to identify and then demand the right to exist as they chose, we, as reasoning beings, would be morally obliged to respect their rights. And we would be morally obliged to respect their rights because we want them to be morally obliged to respect ours. In a sense, it would be the logical, consistent, and irrefutable extension of the Golden Rule, which is the moral principle followed by all the world's major religions and philosophies. Glenn Beck, just like everyone else, has the right to believe whatever he wants. However, if you want others to take your beliefs seriously, you must be able to defend them using reason and reason's greatest substantiator, logic. You cannot expect others to take your beliefs seriously if your claims cannot be validated and proven using logic. You cannot expect others to take your beliefs seriously if they cannot be proven with the senses, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching, or by obtaining information using the senses. If what you believe is outside these realms, it's nonsensical. And if it's nonsensical, it's nonsense. As much as I like Glenn Beck, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness must be defended using reason and reason alone. Any other method of defense concocted by supernatural or traditional means will always fail in the long run, just like it's failing now. Basic moral paradigms, basic moral principles, and basic moral rights must be defended the only way any idea can be defended, through reason and reason alone. And one more quick point. Another mistake Glenn Beck makes is his belief that the United States needs a return to faith, hope, and charity. What this country really needs a return to is reason, freedom, and productivity. The overwhelming majority of the world believes faith is a value. And look at the mess it's in. What's needed is brain activity, not knee-bending activity. As to hope, sure, it's a value. But what good is hope without the freedom that makes what's hoped for truly achievable? It's putting the cart before the horse. And as to charity, what good is charity if nothing is produced? America's amazing legacy of charity was only possible because of its amazing legacy of productivity. So once again, he's put the cart before the horse. If you're interested, I cover many of these ideas and many, many more in my new book, The Common Sense Ethics of a Blue-Collar Philosopher, available at Publish America and other online bookstores. I also cover some of them on my YouTube channel as well. Thanks for your time.